Welcome to Notre Dame Versus, where we explore the week-to-week happenings of those who dare to face Notre Dame in the past, present, and future weeks of the 2024 football season. I am your host, Kenneth Timms, class of 97 and lifelong fan of Notre Dame football. And this is the Notre Dame post-week review. First up is Texas A&M. Texas A&M played McNeese, and they were expected to win decisively. And they did not disappoint. Texas A&M 52, McNeese 10. Texas A&M took control in the first quarter and did not look back. They did not let up off of the gas and had McNeese at 0 until the fourth quarter. Whitman threw 2 touchdown passes. Moss ran 2 scores before halftime as they took it to McNeese State 52-10. Texas A&M 52, McNeese 10. Next up, Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois played number 5 Notre Dame. Northern Illinois was expected to lose to Notre Dame decisively, and it fell apart for Notre Dame. Northern Illinois 16, Notre Dame 14. Notre Dame had control of the game for the first 4.5 quarters, 3.5 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, Northern Illinois kicked a field goal that put them on top and kept them on top and sealed the victory. And said this is the worst loss, one of the worst losses of all times. Heartbreaker. And Northern Illinois 16, Notre Dame 14. Next up, Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue had a bye week, and their next game is Notre Dame on September 14th. Will be at number 18. Purdue Boilermakers. Next up is Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio had a bye week, and their next game will be against Cincinnati on September 14th. Miami of Ohio. Remember to click that subscribe button, click the bell notification to be alerted when we upload new videos. Will be coming before and after the week of football. Next up is Louisville. Louisville played Jacksonville State. Louisville was expected to win decisively, and they shredded Jacksonville State 49-14. Louisville took control in the first quarter and did not let up. Jacksonville State scored in the second quarter, and that was the end of their scoring. Tyler Shaw guides number 22 Louisville to a 42-14 win, threw for 349 yards and 2 touchdowns as they cruised to a victory. Louisville 49, Jacksonville 14. Next up, Stanford. Stanford played Cal Poly, and Stanford was expected to win decisively, and they shredded Cal Poly 41-7. 41-7. Stanford took control in the first quarter. Cal Poly scored in the second quarter, and that was their only score, heading into a 41-7 victory for Stanford. Stanford's special team helped them with a 90-yard punt return for a touchdown in the third quarter, helping them to go to a 41-7 victory over Cal Poly. Stanford 41, Cal Poly 7. Next up, number 23, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech played Syracuse, and Georgia Tech was expected to win this game. And those hopes and dreams shattered as Syracuse took a 31-28 victory over Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was and Syracuse were tied at the end of the first quarter. It's about the second quarter. Syracuse pulled ahead and maintained control of the game until the victory. Kyle McCord passed for 4 touchdowns as Syracuse knocked off Georgia Tech 31-28. Georgia Tech fell 28-31 to Syracuse. Next up, Navy. Navy played Temple, and Navy was expected to beat Temple during this matchup, and they shredded Temple 38-11. Temple had 2 scores in the second quarter and the fourth quarter, not enough to overcome Navy's massive game. Navy took control at the beginning of the game and did not let go, finishing up 38-11. Navy controls Temple from the start. The quarterback had 234 total yards, 4 touchdowns, as Navy beat Temple 38-11. Navy over Temple 38-11. Next up is Florida State. Florida State had a bye week. Their next game will be against Memphis on September 14th. Florida State. Next up is Virginia. Virginia played Wake Forest, and Virginia was expected to lose to Wake Forest. And Virginia shredded the competition. Virginia 31, Wake Forest 30. Wake Forest had control of the game all the way through until the last seconds of the last quarter, where Virginia came through with a 1-yard sneak at 2 minutes left to put Virginia ahead of Wake Forest. Virginia 31, Wake Forest 30. Next up is the Army Knights. Army versus Florida Atlantic. Army was expected to lose this game to the Florida Atlantic, and Army disappointed. Army disappointed the Florida Atlantic with an upset victory, 24-7. Army took control in the first quarter and did not let go. Allowed Florida to score in the second quarter, and that was their first and only score of the game. Army surprised Florida with a throw, and he threw for a surprise touchdown, and then their running game took over to help seal the victory. Army 24, Florida Atlantic 7. Next up, number 13, USC Trojans played the Utah State Aggies. USC was expected to win decisively, and they shredded Utah State 48-0. 48-0. All right. And they took control in the beginning of the game and did not let go. They did not allow Utah State to breathe. And Down to 13, USC. Their revitalized defense held them to a blowout. Quentin Jordan rushed for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. First shutout since 2011. USC over Utah State, 48-0. And there you have it. This week's game in review: Texas A&M with the victory. Northern Illinois University with the victory. Purdue with a bye week. Miami of Ohio with a bye week. Louisville with a victory. Stanford with a victory. Georgia Tech with a loss. Navy with a victory. Florida State with a bye week. Virginia with a victory. Upset victory. Army with an upset victory. USC with a victory. So as you see, we were expected to have 6 victories and 3 losses, with 3 teams on bye. And in reality, the results are there were 6 victories, 8 victories, and 1 loss. Of course, Northern Illinois is a victory we did not want to have happen. But 8 victories and 1 loss on our opponents for this week. We have an interesting way to go. And looking forward to next week, where we're on the comeback trail. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click that notification button. This is Notre Dame Versus, where we explore week to week those who decide to come against Notre Dame. See you next time.